Okay, so this is the kind of render that we want to recreate, and this is the perfume bottle that I have. I'm going to be checking first if the model is correct, and if it's not, what we can do to fix that. And after that, I will start making like a really basic lighting setup, and after that we will jump into these water effects, refractive effects, that are going to give it like the additional touch. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for a whiter or darker art direction. I will choose a little bit on the go. And yeah, so let's jump into it. Well, I have the model here. I haven't done any of the shading. I just imported it to Cinema 4D, and I'm now checking like if everything is alright. It seems to be alright. I'm a little bit concerned that the facets of the bottle are not as prominent as in real life. This is a model from TurboSquid, so but yeah, I think we are missing something here, but in this case it's not going to be necessary. Also, I think we have the liquid, and we have this tiny spray tube which is not visible on the renders. It's not so visible. So first of all, I'm going to rename some stuff. I've added some subdivision surfaces because it didn't come with it, obviously, so you can add it and modify it later. It's better this way. So I'm going to rename this stuff just to keep everything tidy, and I'm going to put a display tag here so we can check how the liquids it's looking. And you can see the liquid is slightly inside of the bottle, and that's exactly what we want. It's like a tiny trick that you have to do in CGI in order to make the refraction of the liquid to work correctly. It looks like it's correct. We will see once we put the lights, because yeah, it's a little bit hard to know. So let's start with the shading and with the lighting. You can see I have 2 lights by default on my scenes, but they are always like super hot, especially in objects in this scale. So I'm going to put an HDRI as a background, and I'm going to remove everything here on the details contribution, and I'm going to just use it as a background. So this way it's not illuminating. If I remove the lights, this will be pitch black, which is kind of cool. So we can use this as a background. After that, I'm going to be creating the glass material. One thing that we can do is, for example, we can put the background in the refractions. Well, in this case it's called the transmission. So we won't be getting these dark parts here, which obviously helps with the realism, because in real life you wouldn't have these dark areas there. I think that's quite important. And I see that we might have some trouble with the liquid, but I want to apply a subdivision surface first. Okay, yeah, it's looking correctly. Yeah, I think that's going to work once we shade it accordingly. As I was afraid, I think we are losing a little bit of the detail here compared to the original bottle, but that will work for now. I didn't set it because I forgot, but the lights here, my lights, like I have in my base scene these 2 lights by default. So one is on the left and one is a little bit top to the right. We're going to change that, but as you can see, it's already giving us like a proper view of what we want to do. But even with that, I want to add a dome light, and I'm going to be making the material with an interior dome light, so we can control better how it's going to look. Because if you shade with a studio setup, there's chances that you get the colors a little bit wrong. So I'm just going to grab like a random HDRI. This is a free HDRI from Maxim Ross. I always use them and they are super cool. So as you can see, it's not affecting the background because it was affecting a tiny bit, you can see in the colors, but I'm going to remove that so we can keep our original background as it is, and yeah, I'm going to leave that there. So let's start to play with the color. We might need to adjust it a little bit later on the process, but so we're going to be picking the screen. I'm going to be choosing roughly a color from the bottle, which is kind of similar. One thing that I'm going to do is that the liquid, it's a little bit too tall for me. Like, I don't like how tall it is, so I'm going to remove a little bit, move it a little bit down. That's how they are doing it in their renders, in their promotional images, and you have to admit it looks a little bit more balanced. The color is obviously still not right, but you get the idea. I'm duplicating the same one just because it's a base class, and I'm going to use this for the liquid. Although for the liquid, I think we are not going to need the color, because the color is given by the bottle itself. I'm sure that the liquid is actually transparent as all perfumes, so we're going to do that, and I'm going to put the refraction a little bit. Let's work with that for now. I'm going to move the left light a little bit to the right because we are totally losing the facets of the light, and that's because the HDRI is a little bit too diffuse. Yeah, and let's put the refraction of the liquid a little bit higher so we also get that there. And I'm gonna put this a little bit subtler. This is not by any means the lighting that we are going to use. And as you can see, we are having these issues here in which the refractions are turning black, and that's just because our redshift settings are not properly optimized. So if you want to advance and globals, we are going to be needing to up this probably to, well, yeah. And as you can see, we start to get a proper refraction everywhere. So if your renders are looking a little bit dark because of that, it's just because you need more trace depth passes in your settings, and you can tell like there's some massive difference. Like this is like looking super weird. Maybe we don't need the reflection ones. Let me see. Yeah, it's making it look a little bit more realistic there, which is a good thing. So I want to try to do one thing because I think the model is not perfectly correct, and what I want to do is I'm going to make the facets a little bit more prominent, and to do that I'm going to use a tool called the subdivision weight tool. I'm going to show you in a second. So I made a duplicate, and now I've selected all the edges here, and I'm going to be using the weight subdivision surface. And what this is going to do is that we are going to be, if you click and drag, you will be pulling the edges a little bit closer. So in this case, it's like making it a little bit more sharp. So it's a subtle difference, but as you can see, it looks a tiny bit better. We still are losing everything in the middle, so I'm going to look into that a little bit later because I don't want to focus on that right now. I want to advance, but yeah, I'm sure that we can make it visible somehow. for the plastic tube, I'm making a quick subsurface material, because, well, it's plastic and you know you should have some subsurface, because it's actually quite invisible in the render, in the product pictures. Could be similar. Actually, it's all in the same geometry, so I'm going to split it, because as they have different sizes, the subsurface is going to be acting different. So we need to split it, and this way we can have the spray tube cap. So in this case, we are going to be able to control the wideness of it a little bit better, because otherwise you can see they need to be kind of similar, and if we use the exact same material, it's not going to be similar. So let's go for that for now. I'm going to put the safe that I made here, so it's not bothering us. Okay, so there is something wrong with the liquid. As you can see, it's like, because if we remove the bottle, the liquid is making this look like super weird. I think it's because, okay, yeah, I know the reason. We have that seam here, it's just in the middle, so we are seeing it through this part here, and it's getting distorted. So I'm going to quickly make the same thing that we did with the bottle. So I'm not sure if I should fix it with the modeling, or maybe we have too much refraction on the liquid, which might be the cause, but still it's looking a little bit weird. I'm going to try to look how it's looking. Oh, actually, okay, no. Yeah, I know what's wrong. That thing is actually transparent. It's not a subsurface material. So that's my fault. Okay, you can see we lost it completely. I'm going to So I've been trying different stuff in order to make this shit visible, and I'm going to show you quickly how it looks. As you can see, like, this kind of effect is kind of normal. We are going to break this shape a little bit better. I added this plane because I was checking just if putting something behind would help at all. And yeah, because I think we are missing different stuff. Obviously, we are missing this kind of refraction that we have in the back. That's because right now it's refracting a pure white. We remove this. Well, we need a background, but let's quickly do it so we can compare. You see, obviously this looks like shit because right now it's super dark, but before we were refracting a super white background, and that's why we were missing some of the details that we see here. So we will balance out that and make sure that it's not pitch black, what we see there, but well, it's a start. This part here is a little bit trickier because the liquid, the way it's made, it's fucking up a little bit with the shape itself. So yeah, the farther away or the closer you put the background, it will affect massively different to your bottle. So this is really dependent on what you want in your scene. If you want the background to act as a background but without interfering modes, mostly on the refraction. You can put it back away. I'm going to go for something in the mid, so we have like a nice base, and this is how it looks without the HDRI. So yeah, I think it's making a little bit of progress, and going to finesse the material, the glass material, a little bit. So we are going to add a noise to the bump, and what we want to do is like getting the extra small detail. Right now it's super big, so let's take care of that, make it smaller, and actually it needs to be like super subtle. We are going to be using two different kind of noises, one a little bit bigger and one a little bit smaller. I'm going to go for turbulence, and I'm going to set it to 50% as I usually do, so it's not so contrasted, and let's make it even smaller. So okay, let's try to use this. Right now it's going to be super big. Keep in mind that we are working real life scale, so this is what you see. Like this is the size of an actual cube, and this is the perfume bottle, so your bump needs to be in line with that. So let's make it super small. I'm going to remove the denoising for this. You can start to see it's still like super harsh, so, and even this is super harsh. We want something that's almost not visible, but you can see that it breaks a little bit into these areas here. I think I'm going to make the noise a little bit bigger. And we need it to be a little bit subtler too. So it's like a really tiny difference, honestly, but it breaks up the shape a little bit. I'm going to make a second noise, which is going to be bigger and probably simpler, and I'm going to use a blender map for that. Bump blender, sorry. What I like to do for the bump blender, instead of putting the bumps to the base and then layer 1, for example, I like to keep the base empty and use the bump to input what for this one, and sorry, the 0 and the 1 for this, and we set it to additive mode, and this way we can control the bumps independently. So we can do this and this, but right now, for example, if I want to see only the layer 0, I can do that. This one is going to be a regular noise, and this is exactly what I want, to start to get this waviness in our bottle. Yeah, I think that's quite good. And let's add the small one back in there. And let's try to make it a little bit more visible. So yeah, that starts to get a tiny bit of detail, as you can see here. Let's check the size. Probably can be even a little bit smaller. Here you start to see all the small details. Here is a little bit too harsh, but well, we can fix that with making it subtler, and we have this good amount of variation. We can always go even crazier if we want it to make like a super high-res version of it, but well, keep in mind that we need to make it clean. Probably in real life you'll have even more imperfections, but yeah. I think I'm going to remove the background here. I'm going to keep it here just in case we need it, but I'm going to be using the HDRI just as the background itself. And what I want to do is I'm going to try to light that part with actual gradients so we can get a nicer effect. We could do different stuff, like for example we can put a plane, and I'm going to show you in a second I think this way is going to be a little bit more annoying, but so if we create a ramp and we put it here on the emission color and in the diffuse, and we put the emission up to 1, you can see what we start to get, okay? So, but obviously we don't want to have the plane visible, so we put it restrict object tag and we remove it to the primary ray visible. So right now it's only affecting it's visible in the refraction and the reflections and all that stuff. So this is a nice way that we can use to create a little bit of this grading effect. If we go too farther away, we are basically removing it from the bottle, so keep that in mind. You can do the same thing with lights, but with planes it's actually quite fun to play around. Right now we have the issue that our refractions are still quite dark. We could try different things. One of them is like moving the lights. So I'm going to use the right light that we had before. So now we have two different HDRIs. One is for the refraction and the other one is just for the color. This is flexible because if we want to change how the background works, we can change it anytime that we want, and we can put the refraction higher. You can see what it works somehow. Okay, I'm starting to notice something that we see here, is that these lines here are more visible because we have something here, and you don't see it, but here there's a smaller bottle. So I think we will need to fake that in order to get like these parts here. This is the trick that they are doing here. So just for the sake of trying, and I duplicated the bottle itself, but maybe it's not so dumb of an idea. If I remove it, you see that we start to get something a little bit, well, you can see all the edges are fucked up because the model is quickly fixing that. I'm sure that we don't need the complexity of this model, but you see, it really helps to get the details that we were missing before. So here you can see it a little bit better. Obviously we are far away from what we're trying to do, but you get the idea. Like all these parts are coming from these refractions here, which is something good to have. So I was just trying subtle differences for the material itself, because there's some stuff that's not working exactly. I'm going to keep this bottle refraction. We might change it for something simpler, but I think right now it's giving us a nice effect. And I want to check, because I think the bottom part of the bottle is not... I've made the liquid a tiny bit more smaller, because it was giving me some headaches. And I think this looks a little bit closer to the actual reference, which is good. I'm going to quickly shade the cap and the paper here, the label, so we don't lose much time, and I will comment over everything that's necessary there. these are the maps that we got from the model. I'm going to set these two to raw because they are black and white, and I'm going to keep this one as it is. Going to be using the C4D tiles to recreate it real quick. So we're going to go for lines, going to put them in vertical mode, and then let's make sure that these two are white. So we have that, or no, actually we need to have these two black. So we have black and white, black and white. Now let's make this way smaller. We got it to be smoother, which is good, but right now it's too smooth. And I think we need more repetition, so we need to make it smaller. Yeah, and I think this is way better than what we had before. Let's compare both. Well, it's subtler now, but this was like just straight lines, and so I was just playing a little bit with the settings here in order to have a little bit more density, but at the same time more thickness to them. And let's make it even subtler, because this is actually like an embossed paper, but it's like really subtle. And also one thing that I realized is that we need to use this same map as the reflection pass here. So it's actually not just about the bump, but if I'm going to add a ramp so we have more control over it. Alt input. And right now, for example, if we see we have this, but I think even with that it's way too visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to the reflection color, maybe. Yeah, this is what I mean. Yeah, I put it on the metalness at the end. Right now it's super harsh, not what we want, but we need some variation here. Well, it's super small, but you can see it's not just a bump, it's also a variation of the reflection. And we can do the same for the roughness with a subtle difference on the here. We don't need the color, we need it to be white and black. So right now it's like full rough, but we are going to be starting to control in the none of them could be full rough. We need some subtle variation. So yeah, I think that could work for now. Let's leave it like that and focus on it a little bit later on the process. It's true that we could maybe get a little bit more fit on the paper, so I think I'm going to split the bumps so I have a little bit more control over this one. I was basically just playing with the settings until I hit something that I was happy with, and I made it so it's actually like gray and black, not white and black, and it works for now. So this material is a little bit more straightforward. It's just a metallic. It's important to keep in mind that, for example, the refraction here, if I put it all black, it will have a little bit less of the metallic look. Once we add more lights, it will be even more metallic. So that's why I like to also put it like that. I think it works for now.